Perfect vision, all will see. Troubles coming, these be the days. Saturation, the summer connected so. This be the year, perfect vision, bathed in the pools of a backlit sun. Good evening, afternoon to everyone. Welcome to a brand new edition of the Sunday Spin. My name is Greno, and I am live from What's Left Records in Colorado Springs. Having a wonderful day selling music to people. There's not a better thing to do on this earth and not a better place than What's Left Records. One of our sponsors here, the Ostro Brothers, always doing wonderful things for the community. Also want to mention Coast to Coast. They are putting out our stuff into the airwaves each and every week. We do appreciate them. And then our friends at Grooves Records in San Francisco, Mr. Kevin Chanel. As always, I'm joined by my cohort, my buddy, my celebratory friend for the Skinny Mulligan 6'6" last year. Happy birthday tomorrow, Vinny. How the heck are you?
Greno, I couldn't be better, my man. It's great to see you in your element. Glad you're kicking ass out there. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Special shout out to the folks from Coast to Coast Entertainment joining us this Sunday. And we are honored. We have waited a long time to have the gentleman that we have in front of us this evening on the spin, all the way from Secaucus, New Jersey, just the other side of the river from New York. We have our friend Keith Buchan. He is well known in the area. He was founder and leader of the band Dog Food, indie rock classics, and now has a band called the Zydeco Revelators, who have a show coming up this month in New Jersey. So be sure to check them out in Hoboken. We'll let Keith tell you more about it. But Keith, thank you for joining us on the spin. It's great to have you here, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Terrific, terrific. And how's the weather in Secaucus today?
It's a little warm, almost 80, but
nice.
It was nice. It was nice.
Yeah, fabulous. A beautiful 80 here in San Diego. Greno, how's the weather in 719 today?
We're actually have a nice day. It's been 80 degrees. We had pretty much a cold spell all week, 50s, 60s, and yeah, now we're starting to see a little bit of the sunshine, ready for summertime.
Fabulous, fabulous. So we really are coast to coast this afternoon, which is a wonderful thing. So, you know, Keith, we always like to start with the beginning. I always like to ask this question. Greno knows this. Your first musical memory. Could you share that with us?
Probably having my own copy of Sgt. Pepper when I was like 3 years old. And, you know, a cheap green, I forgot what brand, record player with the built-in speakers about this big. It was stereo, though. But I only listened to the first 3 songs. So 10 years later, when I got the Blue album, I finally heard A Day in the Life, and I realized what I'd been missing by not playing side 2. So as a listener, yeah, Sgt. Pepper probably.
Crazy, crazy. See, now my introduction to Sgt. Pepper, as crazy as it sounds, was on 8-track.
Oh, wow.
But my father, working for, you know, a Delco subsidiary at the time, would get the promo 8-tracks, and it would run the gamut, and certainly Sgt. Pepper was in there. But again, because it was from Delco, it was slightly different, and there were the chops that you get with 8-tracks. So
right.
I didn't hear it in one piece either until much later in life. That's very, very interesting. And what do you remember from those 3 songs in particular? What really knocked you out about it?
Just this. It was a great 1, 2, 3 punch, basically. I mean, before you even get into a group and you just hear something like that title track doesn't get a lot of accolades. I mean, it does because it's Sgt. Pepper, but it doesn't get accolades because it just serves a purpose. Like the song Magical Mystery Tour. I love that song, but it just serves a purpose. It's like a title track to a movie, whatever you want to call that thing, but it serves a purpose. So you don't really think of it as being any good. But Paul, he just sings the heck out of that thing. Like George Martin said, you can hear the sawdust in his voice.
Wow, and I'm so glad you mentioned that because, you know, speaking of McCartney, that I love his bass on Lucy in the Sky,
Oh
which is
yeah.
one of those 3 songs that you mentioned. So, wow, what a correlation. Really great. And were they your major influence to becoming a musician, or was there somebody else, or were there a myriad of people at that time?
Probably a myriad. I never thought of music as a viable thing because I took guitar lessons when I was about 8 years old for a couple of years, and then the guy quit giving lessons when he got married, and all I got was like through book 2 of the Alfred something. It was like a magazine shaped book, and I got through book 2, and he had me on another book that was like second position. I like when I first learned bar chords a few years later, I was amazed you could even play above the 3rd fret as a guitarist because I was like, wow. So I mean, the Beatles helped. I remember I eventually got my first bass guitar when I was 15, and that same Christmas, I got a VHS player, a copy of the complete Beatles movie. Remember the VHS? And the complete Beatles songbook, which was transcribed by Milton Oken, the guy that did the John Denver records. But the bass
I
line to Lucy was in there. So I remember like slowly reading, you know, guitar players, we can't read music quickly at all, but slowly reading those bass notes and learning that bass line. And I have these vivid memories of this felt pick that the guy at Sickles Music Store in Jersey City gave me, saying, "Oh, you have to use these picks to play bass." I've since learned he's wrong, but because it leaves dust all over the place. But it just had this steady boom, boom, boom. And this is before I knew how to mute with the palm, you know, all the tricks. I don't know how technical you want to get, but I just remember reading those notes and learning the Lucy in the Sky bass part. And it wasn't until years later till I realized why that bass line worked, because I just learned it by rote, you know, by reading it. And now I realize, oh, that's based on the chord, and you know, maybe McCartney didn't know. I don't know, but it was a good Christmas. I always like Christmas of '85 is when I started playing the bass, and that's when things started to come together where I could actually compete with these Edward Van Halen wannabes that played much faster than I could, and actually play an instrument I was more comfortable with, and I could really function on it, and people enjoyed playing with me, and that's the important part. I mean, if you're watching a band in a stadium, the bass player, nobody hears them, but the band does, and that helps the show along. But the bass player is really not getting heard because it just gets lost in the vastness of a big show. Even the Beacon Theater is a little rough for bass sometimes.
Sure, and all very good points, Keith. I want to take you back to that Beatles songbook that you're talking about because I remember that vividly. It was enormous, and it had the white cover, everything. These are the pre-internet days. I can remember sneaking into the library and you know using the mimeograph machine and getting the guitar chords for certain Beatles songs. I vividly remember getting Paperback Writer and Rain from that and looking at Paperback Writer and just being astonished seeing C7G and nothing else, and then you know having to notate McCartney's work and everything else making sense. But yeah, it was the Bible really at the time. There weren't a whole lot of bands that you could go to and really find everything you were looking for. So what a great gift. And who did you get that from? You must remember.
My dad.
There you go.
I think I got volume 1 in '84 and volume 2 in '85 or something like that. I don't quite, but I had both volumes eventually. I actually had them until about 4 years ago when I just started selling things that I didn't need anymore. Although that was a good book because not only did it have the music to every song, even though half of it was wrong, but it was close enough. It also had like excerpts from interviews, and you know, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have Mark Lewison wasn't around yet to tell us everything he knew. I mean, you had to fish for your information, and then you retained it better. Nowadays, I look up something, I hope I remember it, and that's that. But back then, it was so wonderful.
there was something very romantic about the search for these kind of things. And yeah, you almost felt like you were the only one in the whole world doing it. So yeah, I can absolutely identify and tell you, Keith, you weren't the only one.
Right.
Frankly. So you were in good company. Want to talk about your first band? You mentioned starting, picking up bass at 15. Were you a bassist in your first band? I gotta imagine you were in high demand. There couldn't have been too many people in your neighborhood, much like mine, playing bass.
Well, I knew a guy in high school. I went to St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City, and he had left after freshman year. He's very smart, but he was just sick a lot, so he had to take off. So instead of leaving him back, they let him finish out his high school days in Woodridge High, which is in your neck of the woods as well.
The Blue Devils.
And he knew I was getting a bass. He didn't care if I could play. He knew I was getting a bass, just like Stu Sutcliffe. Buy a bass. Can you play? No. But luckily, when I picked up the bass, I took right to it. It's just a guitar with the missing strings on it or whatever. Plus, I had been playing guitar for 7 years on and off, teaching myself and learning the chords from the books and all that business. But he asked me to join his band, and we rehearsed right after Christmas of '85. By '86, we were in the St. Peter's Prep talent show, and we didn't have a drummer. So some guys that were in the other bands offered to do one did the first song, one did the second. We did Sympathy for the Devil and Hotel California. And I was just the bass player. I had a sprained finger because I had hurt it in gym that week or something. And so I had to take off the thing and play anyway.
Was it a dodgeball injury, Keith?
No, it was basketball because I also had broken my toe that week and not realized that I tripped over something and it just hurt a lot. But I'm going to school. It's not a big deal. But I'm trying to play basketball with a broken toe. So that probably didn't help. So the thing just hit my finger and that was that. But anyway, it wasn't that bad. And we played the show and, people, they were very nice to us and condescending. The next year, we came in second in the talent show. And the following year, we came in first. And that was the year I graduated. From then on, they did not allow bands to play in the talent show unless every band member was in the school. Because I was bringing in these 3 guys from Woodridge. And we had just played so much that, we got better, especially for teenagers. And then I left that band. It was called the Flying Aardvarks.
The Flying Aardvarks.
Yes. And Mark Linsky is the leader, was the leader. He's in the Hudson Falcons now, and they've been touring the world and putting out albums for years now. And once in a great while, if he wants me for a bar gig, he'll get me because I know the old songs. We used to play bars up into the 90s under different names with different drummers, different bands. And, on and off, we had a lot of fun. And I got to do a few recently with him. And it was wow. I shouldn't have been so dismissive of just having the opportunity to play bass because once the next band hit, the Dog Food, then that's when I thought I knew everything and kind of took a sabbatical from being a full-time bass player to a songwriter and a prima donna and all that business, which is good, but I don't know. I don't enjoy being the leader as much as just showing up and playing the bass for people.
And I can appreciate that certainly as somebody who has to do both. Grenna would tell you, but you did mention Dog Food. And how you were, it was your band, you were the leader, you wrote most of the songs. Keith, I got to tell you, that was really the Keith Buchan sound that I fell in love with immediately. I thought it was genius.
Well, thank you.
I really did. So I think I understand comfort being something, maybe not being the guy that drives the truck. I get that as well. I'm very lucky to work with my man Greno, who helps me out a lot with that. There's definitely something to be said for it, but I thought it was a fabulous collection of great songs. Really, they were catchy, clever. Definitely, there was a lot of humor in it, but it was appealing, and it wasn't a watered down, punk rock that I was hearing mainstream. It was inventive, it was clever, and it was raw. And I really, really love the Dog Food sound.
That's the one CD, right? The Unleashed. with the yellow cover.
Yes.
Yeah, that came together because if you want to know a quick history of Dog Food to bring you up to at least that CD, the first band was basically in my head. It was a friend of mine, a guitarist from high school, a friend of mine, George, who's a trombone player. I just wanted him in the band because he's my friend, and I forgot the drum. The drummer was going to be my friend, but anyway, on paper anyway. And then when I started to get serious, I met a guitarist in Montclair State. I went there for a year just to go to jazz class. I ended up failing. It was bad.
Well,
my kids
Montclair's the home of Yogi Berra as well, though.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
What history there?
But the guitar player and I met, and then we actually took the drummer from the Flying Aardvarks, and we made an album called Dog Food 1990 or whatever. And that demo tape got us into some gigs. Like we started playing Live Tonight in Hoboken, which became something else. I forgot. Anyway, so we trudged along for a couple of years, and then the drummer kind of slipped out on us, and then we went with a few other drummers. And then we found this drummer that I knew from high school, and he joined, and we were having a blast. He was taking us to all these gigs and open mics and stuff, and he was kind of helping. But then he started to talk to the guitar player and say, "Oh, we need another guitarist or another." I don't know. They just started to leave behind my back. So we played a gig at CBGB's on August 22nd, 1993, and I knew that they had already said they were leaving. So I'm like, this is it. So I was wasted at that show. It was a travesty. I have a video of it somewhere. And it's a good show. But I was upset. I was jumping. I was being the guy I could be on stage now back then, which I wasn't equipped to do that yet. But something in me was probably 12 beers or whatever it was. I don't remember. It was just bad news. I don't recommend it, kids. But we did the show, and I had it recorded because they had the tape deck set up and everything. So I call up the next day because the tape is blank. I'm like, well, you gave us a blank tape. We paid whatever $5 for it. And the lady Louise, who always booked us, she was like, "Oh well, you can get another tape when you play again. You passed your audition." So I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Wow.
So we passed the audition. So for about 2 years, I kept getting gigs for Dog Food, and then after I got the gigs, I would just put together the band. I'd call up a guitar. "Oh, you want to play?" We rehearse once, bring a drummer, and one rehearsal, if that, and then by 95, I found a decent lineup, but they didn't want to commit. And then by 97, 95, I found Ian, the guitar player. And then by 97, we had the band we have now, Ian O'Connell, Greg Hoffman, me. And we made that album, and it was recorded by a man named Bonkers. His real name is Mike Santasiero. He recorded it for us at Fox Studios in Rutherford, and we recorded everything in one day, except the overdubs. But all the lead vocals, all the bass, the guitar solos, except for one song, and all the drums were done live. And then we would sweeten it later because we had a machine, like a DA-88 type. It was a videotape, but it was an 8-track. So we got to bring the machine home and do our overdubs home because we wanted to save money. Because, it costs a lot of money to do these things.
Yeah, no, it's very commonplace. It rings true. It echoes, in fact, what we were doing at the same time. Yeah, the time was very valuable. You never booked more than one day. You rarely booked more than half a day. It wasn't in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. You got down to the nitty gritty and you took it home and you worked on it.
Yeah.
Definitely a precursor to, the COVID age, where
Exactly.
it became an absolute necessity to do that. And, you mentioned how Dog Food has gone through, a whole lot of personnel changes, but the sound has always remained true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of those sounds where you hear that and you go, okay, that's Dog Food. And
Right.
I love that about certain bands.
I mean, usually it's in the songs, it's in the voice, and with this current band, it's in the drums and the guitar as well, because they're great players. They play by feel. I mean, we haven't rehearsed in 20 years. Like if we get a gig, we just go to the gig and hope for the best. And we never have a problem because, it's a jazz mentality, I guess. So if you have a jazz mentality, but you're only playing rock and roll, it's easy. Whereas
it's easy if you're with like-minded individuals. And
yeah,
that really is the key, Keith. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's the way professionals are. The Sea of Otters, what's going on with them? Now, that was another project you had.
yeah, they were trying to get a bass player about 10 years ago. And then they found me, and through them I met a bunch of other people, which eventually led me to the Zydeco band. But Sea of Otters, I was in. I mean, technically, I'm still in, but he revolves the band. Nick Ciavata, that's his name, and that's where Sea of Otters comes from. And it took me a while. Yeah, it took me a while to get it too. So don't feel bad.
No,
But,
I don't.
But yeah, he uses a lot of guys, but I haven't seen him since the pandemic. I say hi to them once in a while, but they have last time I checked, somebody else quit, somebody else joins and stuff. But through Nick, I met Pat Lally, who I played in his band Pat Atomic for a while, and he leads a band. Well, he doesn't lead. It's a band called the Hudson City Rats. They do well in Jersey City now. And then through Pat, I met Lou Selmy, who was the drummer for the Zydeco Revelators. So when they needed a bass player, he remembered me and said, "Oh, I know this guy," because he played with me once, and I guess he enjoyed it. So I went to audition for the Zydeco band, and that's when I started playing a lot more as a bass player. And I get to sing for them, but I don't have to carry anything except equipment.
Sure, absolutely. And Keith, I really appreciate your time here. I do want to talk a little bit about your gig coming up. You have a gig coming up in Hoboken, I believe, this month, right?
Yes, it's at Southwest Park on the 27th of June.
Very good. So that is coming up.
Yes, it's at 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. It's free for everyone. We're also playing a brewery 2 days before in Hillsborough. I don't know the name of the place offhand, but yeah, we're playing there on the 25th. But the Hoboken one, that's the free one. Everybody should come see us. So it's always fun to see the people dancing and stuff like that.
Terrific.
I sing about a quarter of the set, but I get to sit back and play bass.
Fabulous. Folks, you're watching the Sunday Spin. I'm Vinny G. I'm usually joined by Greno. He's got a very busy day there at the office at What's Left Records in the 719. I'm sure that makes our sponsors very happy. But yeah, a little too loud in the store right now. We're hoping to get Greno back, but taking care of business like Greno always does. So, Keith, I do want to talk a little bit about the new band, the Zydeco Revelators. How are you enjoying the experience as opposed to what you've done to this point with Dog Food, for example? I mean, it's obviously a different format. I love that you guys are out there playing the free concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think summer is boding well for you guys out there? Because the warning clouds are coming over, California right now as far as live shows go.
We definitely have 4 shows lined up already, and that's not bad considering all that's happened the past 2 years.
No, you're quite fortunate, actually.
And we actually did pretty well last year. We got to go to New Hampshire and play, and they put us up in this cabin on the lake for 2 nights. It was like a dream. That's the rock star life you think about when you start playing. You say, "Oh, maybe I'll get this." I mean, we wouldn't be our age and be playing if we didn't love it. I wouldn't do it just for the cabin or just for the free beer or the free food or whatever it is, or even the money you make, unless it was a whole lot. But you gotta love it, especially once you're pushing 29, you know how it is.
It's been brutal. 1, 2, 3 AARP, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm
But
getting emails already.
I can only say at this point in my life, in kind of that same area that you're talking about, it's quite rewarding. And it's great to see guys our age still doing it. Speaking of guys our age still doing it, we've got Greno back. He's been kicking ass at the store. Greno, how are things going there? You look real happy.
It's good, man. Sorry I haven't been able to participate, man. I'm gonna have to go back and check out this interview on the Technicolor Dreams YouTube page.
Well, that's life in the sponsored world. I'm glad to see the Oscar brothers are doing so much better. And yeah, the employee of the month, right, Greno?
Hey, doing what we can. I don't know if you guys can hear, but in the background, so where the record store is here on Circle Drive, there's also practice spaces. So someone's already hooked up the bass, ready to go. So we got rock and roll to the left, rock and roll to the right, everything. It's pretty cool. It's exciting. Makes it a little difficult to kind of hear what's going on with the spin, but awesome.
Sure. Yeah, we've just been, talking with Keith about his bands and how things are looking on the East Coast. I was mentioning how the nasty C word is in our neighborhood again, and it scares me for live music. But at this point, Keith, we want to make real sure that you have an opportunity so that people can get you and hear your music. So where can they find you? Are you on Bandcamp, for example?
Yes, if you have to look up dog food. There's a few dog foods around the world now. So even on Spotify, our album is mixed up with a bunch of other albums. So I wonder how many fans we've made because of them and vice versa.
Right.
But we're on Bandcamp, and all my old demos and stuff are on there. It's like it's my brother did it for me, and I gave him a VHS of 6 hours of music because I didn't want to give him the original tapes. And I just said, if you want to put them up, go ahead. And he did. There's a few mistakes, but you can get the gist of it. It's like, it's all there almost. I have a few things on YouTube. If you look up my name, just look up song titles, because I also make silly, it's not organized at all. It's not good. But, and then the Zydeco Revelators, of course, are on Spotify and Apple and all. There's CDs out there. We have 2 albums. The dog food has 1 album and a few songs on YouTube, and all my back catalog, which is 80% of just me playing onto the 4-track myself, with overdubs and stuff.
Cool.
A lot of hiss, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
And if you do go to the YouTube channel, be real sure to check out the video for Bob White is a Jerk, which is a classic dog food song. It's my favorite, and I refer to it every time I talk to Keith. But yeah, it's a classic. But the thing I love best about the video, it is at a park. If I'm not mistaken, it is in northern Jersey, in that Hoboken, Jersey City area. But the thing, Greno, that's just amazing about it is there's a mini mosh pit going on of 5 to 7-year-olds just letting loose.
That's
and
great.
It truly encapsulates what we're doing at our age and what we're passing on. And Keith, I got to tell you, I always get choked up when I see that video.
Yeah,
because it really does remind me of why I do what I do. Because you had mentioned no one's getting rich, no one's living the rock star lifestyle. We do it because we want to and we have to. But there's the reason, and it's just so beautiful to see that in the next generation. I really want to applaud you for sharing that on YouTube with the world, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
also,
guys, go check out his YouTube channel for sure.
There might be a true solo album coming out soon, too, of mine. A friend of mine is going to record me. He's got the equipment, and we're going to use other things. Like I just bought a synthesizer. I think I put it on Facebook, and I've been playing with that. And just having a ball, things I should have did 10 years ago. I'm doing now. These things are fun.
Well, and it's a great age if you open yourself up, and on that note, Keith, we're always looking for people to contribute as well on our projects. So I definitely see some exchange, East Coast, West Coast, barter coming along, because we love your work.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love decorating other people's music, whether it be with the bass or the synth or guitar, whatever you want me to do.
Oh, we would
That's
love
great.
that, wouldn't we, Greno? That's what
Yeah.
it's about, the shared experience. And
Oh, definitely.
yeah, what a coup. How much fun that would be.
And there's
Yeah,
also
definitely if you didn't know.
my friend who's recording me. He and I are starting to write songs together, and we just started a band or a project. We don't know what it's going to be yet, called the Saugerties, named after the town in Albany.
Okay.
And just putting it out there for if you see it in the future, you know you heard it here first.
That's right.
But
Well,
there's
Sunday Spin exclusive.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And there's also a band. I played bass on the EP, and when we play live, I play bass for PM Edition. That's
Okay.
the current band, and the Widow Jane Gang. I just wanted to mention all the bands so none of the people get mad at me in case they're watching.
Oh, for sure. And on that note, Keith, you know, we always want to give you your couple of minutes for your shout outs. And seeing
Okay.
how you've kind of already started with your bandmate, I want to give you the full opportunity because I think that's important. You know, there's, I'm sure, a laundry list of people who have gotten you to where you are in your life at this point. And, you know, here's a good opportunity to say thanks, maybe.
Okay. I'll try chronological order. We got Mark Linsky, I mentioned, Rob McGurl, Tom McDonald, Morgan Haley, John Marino. He's the guy that busted up the first dog food, but he was still part of history. Ian O'Connell and Greg Hoffman, the current dog food members. Larry Oakes, Lou Selmy, and Phil Positano from the Zydeco Revelators. REA Bellison, Karen Lerman, and Sal Carrillo. Those are the rubboard players for the Zydeco band. Nick Ciavata, Pat Lally, Lou Acabelli, my wife Michelle, of course. Zachary Baylog, he's the Zaugerty and the producer of the next Keith album. Ondine, that's just the name she goes by. She's the PM Edition leader. John Kime, he plays in the Widow Jane Gang. Any bands? I think I got them all, but that should be enough. Nobody's going to remember it anyway, but at least I said it. They'll hear their own name, and they won't hear
Well,
it. If I didn't
they
say
can go back and watch the show over and over and over and hear their name every week, right?
That's right.
Courtesy of YouTube and the Technicolor Dreams channel. There's my man Greno throwing it out there. Yeah, that's where you can find Keith starting tomorrow on YouTube. If you missed any of it, I know Facebook Live, Coast to Coast Entertainment, we're in a lot of places, but yeah, check out the YouTube channel. And when you do, be sure to check out Dog Food. Again, Keith, Zydeco Revelators. One more time. Where are they playing and what time?
Southwest Park, Hoboken, New Jersey, June 27th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Woo!
Yeah,
fun.
that's the one.
Very cool. Very cool. Wow, what a show.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Keith, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
What a great interview. Boy, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to ask one favor. When the solo record is ready to come out, which I'm very excited about, we'd love to have you back on the show to talk about it.
Of course. Yeah,
Terrific.
come on.
Terrific.
Almost anytime you want. This is
Yeah.
fun.
Tremendous.
Keith,
Yeah, I'm
really-
glad you had a good time. I told you would. Yeah, it's not the McNeil Lehrer report. It's not Wall Street Week. It's rockers talking rock. And what could be better from my eyes, right? And on that note, tomorrow night, KCOS, the finest show in indie rock, will be on, and that's Greno's Grooveyard. Greno, tell us about tomorrow's show, buddy.
Tomorrow is going to be New Music Monday. So super excited to bring you some new tracks from the Glass Parade, from Local Flight. Let's see who else we got in the mix. A whole bunch. We got, I think, some Mulligans, some Greno, some Miles the Master. And yeah, it's just going to be a great hour. Really excited about spending it with you guys, as I always am on Mondays, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's 8 o'clock Eastern and 5 o'clock on the West Coast. So yeah, really excited about it. And Keith, yeah, if you want to submit some a couple of tracks, I would love to play your stuff on the air on KCOS. We're all about, you know, spreading the word and getting. We play mostly Colorado music, but we play Friends of Colorado as well. So I'd love to have you aboard for a couple of tracks, my friend.
What kind of links you want? Like the Spotify links or anything like that? Or
well, just an actual file would be the best, because what I do is I do an hour-long radio show. So I just weave those tracks into, you know, specific spots.
Okay.
And then, you know, I also blow it up on the social media, so you will know, you know, when you guys will be being played and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you want, you can just send it to our Gmail. And just so you guys know, anonymouscollectivemusic@gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns, love letters to Vinny. We're getting them all the time. It's getting a little bit ridiculous. His fan mail is like, man, it's like
the money I've spent on stamps. You wouldn't believe it.
Jones, 1966, man. And let's give a quick shout out to our buddy Frank Sesich. Frank performed his first live concert in, I believe, 3-4 years. Didn't he?
Yes, sir. Since 2009, he was at Strum Around in Sandusky, Ohio. Shout out to the good folks at Strum Around. We would love to have Scott from Strum Around on the show sometime. Another record store owner. Indie rock is where it's at. I got nothing else for you guys. Keith, good luck. Hope to be seeing you again real soon. Good luck with your gig with the Revelators. Thank you for joining us on the Spin. I got nothing else, guys. Greno?
Oh, yeah. I just want to thank our sponsors, as always, What's Left Records. I'm holding it down right here for the Sexy Ostro Brothers. And we also got Coast to Coast Entertainment. Thank you so much for bringing Sunday Spin to the masses. And then also our buddy Kevin Chanel, Grooves Records, the legendary Grooves Records in San Francisco. If you're in that area, definitely take advantage. Go say hi to Kevin. He's one of the most friendly, musically savvy people that you will meet in your life. And Vinny, before we go, I just want to say I'm very excited about next week. It's our first band reunion. The band is Patch, and I was fortunate to be the drummer, so I'll kind of take a back seat next week, let you do some of the Tom Brokaw. But it's going to be fun. We're going to have Adam, Eric, and Joel joining myself. The band was Patch. We were together from 1994 to 1998. Released 2 albums, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We do appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. Just want to say, take care of each other. Remember, we can't change the world until we change ourselves. So let's do some work on that. Everybody stay positive. Thanks as always for tuning in to the Sunday Spin. Vinny, I love you, man. And Keith.
Yeah, I love you too. And if my band ever gets out of prison, you know, maybe we'll have a Vinny and the Grubber right here on StreamYard, right?
Yes, Keith, what a pleasure to meet you. And Vinny, before I go, man, happy birthday, Skinny Mulligans. Tomorrow is the anniversary of 6/6/21, which was the album 1966. Right behind Vinny, right there in the corner, sexy looking girl, 1966. You can still get it too, Vinny, right? Bandcamp. Right, GrenoMusic.bandcamp.com. That's the place to go.
You bet. And while you're there, take a look at our guest this week, Keith from Dog Food of the Zydeco Revelators. Guys, have a great week. We'll see you next week. We can't wait.
See you guys. Love y'all.
Peace.
Excellent.